Our interviews continue here at Century Mile. Racing Manager Matt Jukich with two special guests here today. We have Marketing Manager Marina Law and a very special guest, Scott McCord from The Bear. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
So we kind of got put on to Scott by following you on Twitter and seeing your home base OTB, which has been actually fantastic to watch. You've been a big racing fan during this lockdown. You got the brown liquor cabinet.
You watch
racing all the time. Tell me about how that came to be. Where did your love of horse racing come from?
My love of horse racing actually came, this is going to sound like a really maudlin story, but it's true. One of the first things I learned how to read from my grandmother, who was partially blind, would take me to Hastings Racetrack out in Vancouver all the time. I'm not kidding when I say I was quite literally born into it at the age of 2-3 years old. She couldn't read the fine print. I'd be reading the it's all Greek to you when you're 2-3 years old.
Right.
But yeah, I would be quite literally reading the program to her like I would read the TV guide to her. And it was just something that I fell in love with and I've always kind of followed my entire life. And then when the pandemic came down, okay, now's the time to buy that 4K TV that's got the internet capability. We'll get the brown liquor cabinet set up on one side, and it's been Crown Royal and ponies for the last 3 months every Saturday. And thank you to my wife and my son for putting up with all of it. Mwah, I love you both.
How does the HBI count look? Is it up or down?
It's up.
It's up. Nice. Congratulations.
Nice.
It's up, but let's not throw any real numbers around here, Matt. Let's not get crazy. Up is a relative term, isn't it?
Up is up, my friend. If it's $2, you're doing okay as long as you're
exactly.
Up.
Yeah, exactly.
When's the last time you were at Hastings?
A couple years ago now, it'd be 2 or 3 years ago. I grew up in Vancouver. My whole family is from there, so I feel pretty lucky getting to grow up around a park like that. It's just an absolutely gorgeous facility, and obviously some incredible horses have come out of there. So yeah, not so much with the harness racing, more with the thoroughbred. And it's again, lucky to grow up on the coast and lucky to have facilities like Century Mile and Hastings around.
Both of us actually from Vancouver as well. You'll hear a pretty familiar voice calling the races here on opening day. Dan Jukich coming out to call the races at Century Mile.
Okay. Gang's all here. I love it.
Gang's all here. It should be a lot of fun. Marina, you got a pretty similar story where you got into it too, right? Your dad would always take you.
Yeah, similar to Scott. Kind of got my start at Hastings as well. That was my first taste of racing when I was a really little kid. And then when we moved out here, started going to Northlands Park on the regular. Got to reading a racing forum when I was pretty young as well. Probably my first rather big win. I did a $1 try box and hit, I think it was $365, which was huge to me at the time. And yeah, I got hooked and started kind of taking it more serious and spent my entire weekends at the track when I was a kid and kind of never looked back. Now lucky enough to work in it, which is super fun.
That's awesome.
And now you get to spend the weekends here working too. But let's get down to business. Talk about finding a big Triacta box. Let's try to make some money here on the weekend. We do kick off with an 8-race card. First post, 5:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We do have that new Sunday night time slot. First race, kicking the meat off with the 17.5 Claimer. Do you two have a opinion on this first one, Marina?
I landed on Tapmaster the 6 here. I think the pace scenario was going to set up pretty well for him with some speed in the 7 Chaska, the 4 Little Groot, and kind of earlier on the 2 Frobisher Bay. He was kind of all over the place last year. He made some starts at Aqueduct, Belmont, Ellis, Remington. He's 1 for 1 at the distance. He makes his first start under Gord Amther. He was previously trained by Steve Asmussen, but I think if he runs like he did in his last couple, kind of sitting off the pace and making a big run top of the stretch, I think he's got a real shot here. And I think if he's close to his morning line at 9-2, I think there's some good value there.
I think this might be unofficially the first Tappet to run here in Alberta, so we'll see if Tapmaster can make it 1 for 1 for the progeny of Tappet. I'm going to guess McCord without looking. He's one of the Hastings Invader, the 4 Little Groot.
I tell you what, I'm going to like Chaska at the 9-5, obviously, with Rico Walcott riding that horse. You can. It's funny where you're looking at it and you're like, wow, 4 months off. Wait a second. These horses are dealing with 8 months off, 11 months off in some cases. With only 4 months off, and you got Rico Walcott in the back of that horse. I really like that. Also, the Double Bear at the 8-1. I think the short track is going to help with that horse at the 8-1. I think you can get some great value there.
Double Bear, of course, the now winner of the Canadian Derby a couple of years ago in the controversial fashion, but does have his name next to that win now. So Double Bear looking to keep on rolling. Great story. Bit of a handful in the mornings, but great to see him still plugging along at his advanced age here of 8 or sorry, 6. Jeez, print's too small. We're going to skip ahead a few races here. Kind of an interesting race at the end of the card. We do have, like I said, 8 races. Marina's kind of scouted out a long shot, race number 7. Who are you looking for, Marina?
Okay, hear me out. I landed on the 1, Mr. Irrelevant, at a 15-1 morning line. So looking back, kind of going to the start of last season, he was close to the same level, and he ran some really good races. He was a little bit wind shy. Last year, he ran 14 times, won once, and was second 6 times. But if you look at his first start last year, he kind of made a big move, and he was second by just 3/4, and that was only going 5 furlongs. And he's going to gain an extra half here. There is some speed to contend with in Backstreet Bobby, a couple others too, but Ojo Del Mar at the 11, and as well as the 8, Code 8. So I think the price is going to be good to take a shot on him. If he's close to 15-1, I think definitely the price would be worth it.
Mr. McCord?
I'm going to go with Backstreet Bobby, like you said, simply for the speed factor. That is a very fast horse coming out of the 2 spot, also dropping in class as well. Looked like he had some good workout numbers recently, so I'm going to go with that. The 4-1. I think that's going to pair nicely with another horse in that race.
I'm kind of leaning with Marina on this one. I'm not sure what to do with Backstreet Bobby, just because
Really?
of the big drop, first time out. He could run at a higher spot for no claiming price. I think there's some other ones in here that are going to take money too. I think this might be onto something for a longer price. Reflection of values on the drop's going to take some cash. And Ojo Del Mar from the far outside will get played off the win last time out of the Assiniboia, but not the greatest opposed to all that speed to his inside. So
no, I agree with you there.
Backstreet Bobby for McCord. Marina going just in the side there to Mr. Irrelevant. Does get the weight break too with Mauricio Malvez. Going to shed 10 pounds off the 126 top weight. And probably the race of the day. Race number 8. We got a full gate of 12. It's a maiden allowance. Which way of the 12? Let's go to McCord this time. Which way do you ahead?
Boy, this just looks to be a wide open race. I got to tell you, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of T's to cross and lowercase J's to dot. I'm going to go well with Wicked Fortitude at the 5-1. It's just shown so well in similar races. Looks to be a good horse at the 5-1. I mean, not too much of a long shot. Not going to pay ridiculous or anything like that for the value to 5-1. I would stick with Wicked Fortitude.
Marina?
Yeah, lots going on in this race. I kind of thought there was 3 main horses: the 4 Irish Trick, the 9 Deuces Are Wild, and the 11 Wicked Fortitude. I landed on the favorite Irish Trick for Tim Rycroft. You can't ignore those works. Those are some of the fastest works that I remember seeing for an unraced 3-year-old in Alberta in a long time. I wrote down one word, which was wow, under the works, and I don't usually write that. Obviously, Wicked Fortitude, the 11. He hasn't done much wrong at all. 3 starts at Hastings, started for a maiden claimer for 25,000, was second, moved up to 50, was third by a neck, and moved for no price and was second by a head. So excuses there. He's definitely a talented horse. He's just found a couple ways to lose in his few races. Deuces Are Wild, the 9. He's another one. He had 2 starts the start of last year, so he hasn't raced in about a year and a half now.
15 months, 18 months.
Yeah, both at Gulfstream. He wasn't close in either of them, but the interesting thing is he lost in his last. The winner was Chancelot, who turned out to be a really nice horse. He was second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, I think it was, last year. So he's definitely run with some class. It'll be interesting to see what he does at Century Mile. He's coming back as a gelding, and getting Rigo Sarmiento aboard too, I don't think hurts.
Leading rider from 2019 here, Rigo Sarmiento. Can't go wrong there. Rico Walcott, like you mentioned, the perennial leading rider up until last year when he had his health issues on Irish Trick. I'm going to steal a line from my new friend Mark Patterson. Mark Kluche ships over from Hastings with lethal intent. I do like the way that Scott went there on Wicked Fortitude. We'll see if Kluche continues hot run, of course, under par. Won a few races last year over here. Came over with Explode, who won at the Derby as well. Speaking of the Derby, big 3-year-old race on Saturday. That's tomorrow if you are watching on Friday. Over at Belmont Park, it's a bit shorter, 1.125 Belmont Stakes. And McCord, you have a little story on the favorite, Tis the Law.
I got to go with Tis the Law on this one. And I mean, I know it's a 6-5 horse. I realize what we're dealing with Tis the Law here. But I can remember like the wow moment that Marina just discussed. I remember watching Tiz the Law in the Florida Derby, and he won by, I want to say it was a 4 1/4 length win, something like that. And it was just jaw-dropping, the speed that horse ran with, and the rest of the, I mean, it wasn't like he's against a bunch of soup cans or anything like that. Like, these are horses that could absolutely run, and he just outclassed absolutely everybody else. You've also got Sol Volante in there at the 2 spot with a 9-2. You got some great horses in this, but I got to go with Tiz the Law. The moment I saw Tiz the Law, I got great odds on the Kentucky Derby, and I laid money down right after that Florida Derby. So let's hope that will continue with Belmont. Should be a great race with the shorter race on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it.
Rita, how are you looking for Sol Volante?
You know what? It's going to be hard to go against the namesake Tiz the Law. He's just been too good. Up to this point, I've really liked Sol Volante. The only thing in this race is I don't think there's going to be a ton of pace, whereas Tiz the Law can be a little bit closer. I think that Sol Volante needs a bit more speed to run into, and he is running pretty quickly back. I think he's getting 10 days. His last start was June 10th at Gulfstream. So it's a little bit quick, but I'm still going to go Tiz the Law here.
I'm going to be a homer as well and go Sol Volante. He's a half-brother to the 2019 Canadian Derby winner, Explode, trained by Mark Kluche. We talked about him a moment ago. Owner Ole Nielsen from the Edmonton area came out and won that race with Amadeo Perez, who will be back on Sunday as well. So thanks, guys. Can we do this again sometime? This was a lot of fun.
100%. Absolutely love it. Thanks, guys.
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, first post on Sunday evening, afternoon. You want to call it 5:15 p.m. Watch and wager on hpibet.com. You want to watch the races, you can join us at centurymile.com as well. But hpibet.com to get those wagers in this Sunday on the 8-race card as we kick off the 2020 season here at Century Mile. Good luck.